Hey guys, this is Matt with BleepinJeep.com. Today I'd like to talk to you about the signs of a bad U-joint. How to tell if one of these boogers is going bad on you. But first check out my website, BleepinJeep.com. It's got all the best off-road content on the web all in one spot. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel right here, BleepinJeep. I appreciate it. Alright, so the first thing you need to know is where are my U-joints? Well, if you've got a four-wheel drive, solid front axle vehicle, then you're going to have 4 U-joints. You're going to have one on your front drive shaft, one on your rear drive shaft, and one on each axle shaft, which is on the left and right side, right behind your front tires. So what is a U-joint? Well, it's this thingamabobber. It's kind of like a cross. It's got 4 caps on it, some rubber to keep the grease in. Inside here you've got a bunch of needle bearings. A lot of times there'll be a zerk right here on the edge to put your grease in. Sometimes it'll be on the cap itself. And basically it's got 4 attachment points here. It lets you pivot this way, and then in combination. Now there's a couple differences between what to look for on a drive shaft U-joint and an axle shaft U-joint. So let's start with the drive shaft U-joint. Alright, so the first thing you'll want to do is take the load off of the drivetrain. And to do that you'll need to jack up at least one of the tires on each axle. I've already got my wheels and tires off the front axle, as you can see, so I'm just going to take a jack, chock the back, and jack up one side. Alright, so now we're under here by the rear axle, and what we're going to do is just look and visually inspect it first. Make sure all the rubber is still there, make sure that the cups aren't pushing out, and make sure everything's intact. Then we're going to turn it back and forth and look for play. To do this you'll need to put it in neutral. And then you're going to push it up and down and then rotate it and push it up and down again looking for movement. And I don't see any here. Let's go check out a bad one. Alright, so now we're here at the front drive shaft, looking at the front drive shaft U-joint, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to visually inspect it. We're going to look for dust coming out. We're going to look to make sure that all these rubber pieces are still there. And as you can see, when I move this one back and forth, you can tell it's bad. We're also looking for the dust. The rubber boot is missing right here. You can also see that the cup has moved out, and I actually broke the little nipple on the yoke right there, so I'll need to replace the yoke and the U-joint on this one. Another thing that might tell you if you have a bad U-joint on a drive shaft is a shaking or a wobble at speed. It's not going to be like a death wobble, but it's just going to be a vibration, and you're going to feel it right under your butt, because when you're going down the highway, this thing is just going to be shaking back and forth like that, and it's going to really vibrate a lot. So if that happens to you, check your drive shaft U-joints. Another thing you'll want to look for is the zerk fittings. Right here is where you grease these things, and if your zerk fitting breaks off, which happens a lot, then you're going to get a lot of water and dirt and grime in there, causing this thing to go bad premature. Make sure that when you check these things also that you do it before you grease it, because if you grease it, that grease will temporarily fill the gaps in there and you won't be able to feel it moving back and forth as much. Okay, so now we're moving on to the axle shaft U-joints. These are a little bit harder to get to. This is the front driver, and this is where your tire and wheel would normally be, obviously. And you can stick your hand back here and try to move these back and forth, up and down, but there's a couple more tricks that you can do as well. A lot of times when these axle shaft U-joints go bad, you'll hear a clicking at slow speed when you have your windows down. It'll just be like click, 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 click. And one thing you can do to test them is just to jack one side up and spin your tire and look for any play. When you start to move this, if there's a delay between here and here, then you know that your U-joints are bad. The next thing you'll want to do is, while it's still jacked up, go ahead and turn your steering wheel all the way over to one side and then try and move it. A lot of times what will happen is if those U-joints are bad, it'll jam up whenever you're turned real sharp like this. And the last thing you can do is just take a marker and mark you a line right here, just like so, and then drive around for a while. And if that line doesn't match up, the next time you look at it, then you'll know your U-joints are bad. Because when those go bad, there's a lot of pressure in there and it'll start spinning those caps. Alright, so the last thing you can do to diagnose these things is just to take the damn thing out and look at the inside of it. On this one, you'll notice this one's lost its needle bearings completely and it's just been chewed up. This one's got some grease in it, still probably good. And this one is dry as a bone, but the needle bearings are still intact. If you've got this thing off, you might as well just go ahead and replace it. It's about $15 to $20 for one. And if you need to learn how to do that, check out these two videos. One is with the press and one is out on the trail with the hammer. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Please check out my website, BleepinJeep.com, for all the best off-road videos and content on the internet. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel right here, BleepinJeep. Leave your comments and questions below. I appreciate it. Thanks.